Hello, this is Andrine, a Jewish American priestess, and today I am bringing you a Hebrunes reading to talk about the holiday of Sigd, which is coming up upon us tonight where I am. And it is a holiday in the Ethiopian tradition of the Beta Israel people. Sigd means prostration. And it's a holiday where the people from the Beta Israel community would take a journey up the mountain to symbolize Moses ascending on Sinai to receive Torah, sometimes carrying heavy stones with them in order to represent the weight of Torah. And then at the top, there's some reading from the Orit, which is the Sigd, the Ge'ez word for Torah. And then a giant festival which includes dancing and eating wonderful foods, particularly fermented foods like injera, coffee, which is a bitterness, the sign of the month of Chesvan. So this holiday takes place on the last day of Chesvan, the 29th of Chesvan, which happens tonight at sunset. Also, the word Sigd means prostration, so it's about humbling oneself before the Torah. And the letter that goes with the month of Mar Cheshvan is Nun, which, as we know, stands for Ne'aman or Nefila, which means to prostrate or to become humble or to fall down. So the letter Nun goes very well with Sigd. The letter that's coming for the next month, the month of Kislev, which begins on Monday, is the letter Samech. Samech, which means to surround, with the word Sovev. And if you put those two letters together, Nun, Samech spells Nes. Nes meaning miracle. It's one of the letters. Nun is on the dreidel when we spin for Hanukkah. Nes Gadol Hayasham, a great miracle happened there. So we have those two letters coming together right at this moment in time, the Nun and the Samech, meaning Nes, meaning miracle. When one is in humility, one is able to feel the surrounding of the divine and feel the miracles coming, even when it's dark, even when we are humbled for whatever reason. So today I'd like to do a reading about what miracle are we expecting right now. I have the miracle of the pomegranate, which is this amazing fruit, looking like these jewels within this shell. And I brought that out today because we happen to have one in the kitchen right now. And I just love the pomegranate. It's so multifaceted, like a jewel. You can see it looks like a bunch of rubies inside of a fruit. There's one of the miracles of the season, are the fruits that are coming to us, even again as we plunge into darkness. So I'm going to do a reading today. I'm going to do a 7 rune spread. So let's pull out the first 3, and then the second 3, and then the final. Starting at the top, we have the letter Kaf. And that's what's coming down from above, what's coming down from the divine right now. In the lower right corner, what is known about our current circumstance? And we have the letter Aleph. In the lower left corner, what is unseen right now in our circumstances? And we have the letter Ayin. Oh, Sadi. I thought it was Ayin, but it's Sadi. So let's look at these 3 first. At the top, we have the letter Kaf. Kaf represents the palm of a hand. You can see it looks a little bit like somebody's outstretched palm here. And so it represents things that are sort of give and take. And it's about poverty and wealth. It's that binary transformation of wealth and poverty in the Sefer Yetzirah. It's got that double-edged meaning. It's also about power. The word koach begins with kaf. And the word keter, which means crown, also begins with kaf. So we have this this concept of an outstretched palm, which can either be giving of wealth or receiving if one is in poverty, but also power. So it could be something that's oppressing or somebody who's being suppressed. It's about what can cover the top of your head. So a crown, a keter, or a kippah, or this idea of a covering like the schach that goes on the sukkah. We just passed through Sukkot. And so this idea that something is sheltering over us, protecting us from the sun. Kaf is the letter that rules over the sun in the sky. So it has that idea of power from the sun, the source power. But it also can be oppressive. Too much sun can be very damaging. So something that's sheltering us can be seen as the hand of the Shekhinah lifting us, or the hand of the Shekhinah sheltering us from a greater power. So that's what's up right now, this idea of power. Somebody's got power, somebody's using power, wielding power. And that's what's coming down from the heavens right now, what's coming down from the divine, this idea of power, our own innate power perhaps. And then what is known about our current circumstances? We have the letter Aleph in the lower right corner, and the Aleph is that letter which I think of as above, so below. We've got the divine above and the divine below, the Yud on both sides and the Vav between with a connection. Aleph means one. It's the oneness of the divine. It also means 1,000. Aleph means 1,000. So it's this idea of multiplicity within unity and unity within multiplicity. Like that pomegranate we were just looking at. It's one fruit, but it's got dozens and dozens and dozens of jewel seeds inside. So we have to make a reconciliation between the multiplicity, the multifacetedness of the divine and the oneness of the divine. That there is only one divinity in the world, and yet it comes to us in the many, many forms, in many, many faces. Aleph also represents the breath, the air. It's the mother letter of air. So it represents the breath in the body and the divine breath within each of us. And that's what's known right now. We have this knowledge that there's this miracle that allows us to have breath in each moment, and remembering to have gratitude for that breath as we move through our day. It's this creation element of air and wind and the atmosphere that surrounds the planet. We have the sun, which provides us warmth, but we need to have that protective layer of air in order to survive on this planet. So here are two of the things that allow us to survive here right now on our planet. So take some breaths to really appreciate the air right now, the miracle of air. In the lower left corner, that which is unseen as of yet, but is present and yet unseen, we have the letter Tzadi. And Tzadi represents righteousness and justice. Tzedek means justice, and it starts with the letter Tzadi. So there's something here that's unseen in the form of righteousness. We can't see everything that is right. We can't see everything that is just right now. We can trust that it's there under the surface. The Tzadi is the number 90 in Gematria, and so it represents the number 9 times 10. So 9 is the letter Tet, and it means goodness or a container or gestation. And so 10 times that is this ultimate manifestation of gestation. And we think about Sarah, the matriarch, who was 90 years old when she gave birth to Yitzhak, who has a Tzadi in its name. And so it has this concept of this ultimate manifestation of gestation, something coming to gestation when the mother is very elderly, and that there's goodness within. The letter Tet represents Tov, the word good, and it's also representing that gestation. So what's unseen right now is that which is gestating, has goodness within it, and ultimate goodness It also, you can see that the tzadi looks a little bit like the letter nun, bent over, with the yud on its back. So it's got that idea of humility with the divine backing it up. So to bring about justice, we need to remember our humility and remember that divinity is right here with us, right at our back. And that brings about justice and righteousness, and also being able to hunt for and find the divine sparks. The word Sigd means hunting in the world. So what's unseen right now is this idea of justice, this idea of righteousness, and this idea of hunting and finding the righteousness and the goodness within whatever is gestating right now. Let's pull out 3 more letters to complete our star, and then we'll pull out one final letter. So at the bottom, we're going to look at what the root of our situation is. Let's pull out one letter for the root. And we have the letter He. In the upper left corner, what's the challenge right now, or the fear in our situation? Challenge or fear? We have the letter Lamed. And in the upper right corner, what is the advice right now in our situation? Or the very next thing that's coming, either our advice or the next thing that's coming. And we have the letter Yud. What's the root situation is represented by the letter at the bottom. And we have the letter He. He is the letter that begins the word Hineni. And so, which means here I am. So I think about He as being the representative of presence, remaining present in the face of the divine. It's the word that one uses when one hears their name called by divinity. So when you hear your name called, the appropriate answer is Hineni. Hineni meaning here I am, ready for service. I'm ready to show up and do what needs to be done. And sometimes we don't get the message about what it is we need to do until we show up, until we say Hineni. He is the number 5 in Gematria. So it has to do with, I think of the 5 fingers of the hand, so action in the world on some level. But it also is the letter that is said to represent the sense of sight in the Sefer Yetzirah, and or light. Light being mentioned 5 times in the creation story. So this idea of being able to see our way forward. And this is being at the root of our situation, what is coming up from the earth. We have this idea of light. And right now, as we go from the month of Chesvan into the month of Kislev, Kislev is the month where we light candles for the festival of light in the darkness. So there's something about being able to find our light, be able to trust that the light is there underneath the source of all things. So what I see as coming up from the bottom, as coming up from the earth, is this call to remain present. Maybe tap into the breath, but also just show up and say, here I am, even when it's difficult to see the miracles, even when we're having challenges with seeing our way forward. Being able to just show up is 50% of remaining present with divinity, with the 4 letters of the divine name are Yud He Vav He. We've got He being twice, showing up in the divine name. So if we can show up, that's halfway toward being present for divinity. Just showing up and saying, here I am. Let me hear what it is I need to do. Let me see my way forward. Show me the light. In the upper left corner, what's our challenge right now? What's our fear right now? We have the letter Lamed. Lamed is the letter that begins the word Lev, meaning heart. So it's about reaching up with heart. It's the only letter in Hebrew that reaches above the line. So there's something about reaching up with hope and with heart toward divinity for connection, being able to digest what you take in and understand what's useful and what isn't. The fear or the challenge in the situation is finding our heart, finding our ability to discern when we learn something. The words learning and teaching, lamud velamed, both begin with lamed, and also the foundation of action in Sefer Yetzirah. Maybe we don't know what it is we're supposed to do right now. Maybe we're having a hard time discerning what's valuable and what we need to let go. The lamed also represents the intestines in the body, so about digestion, taking in what is useful and letting go of what isn't. So what may be challenging right now is finding our heart as well as discerning what we need to release and what is helpful to keep right now. Maybe we're having difficulty knowing what action to take in the world, and that's valid. Things are very tricky right now in the world, but the next part is, what do we do? What's our directive here? And we have the letter Yud, which is the first letter of the divine name, the Yud He Vav He. So it represents on some level divinity itself, reaching up for divinity. You can see it in every single one of the letters that begin with a Yud. When you're writing the letters, everything starts with this small dot, with this seed. The way I see it, it's time to plant a seed. It's time to really tap in to divinity, to remain present, and plant a seed somewhere, trusting that the divine is within it, that we can reach out for divinity even when we're lost, even when we don't know what our hearts are, even if we're unable to tell what direction to go. That the advice here is to reach out for the divine. The letter Yud is the number 10. So it is the number 1 times 10. So it's this ultimate manifestation of oneness. And it brings us to a place of multiplying it times each of the letters brings us an ultimate manifestation into the next thing. It's also the letter that begins the word Yad, which means hand. So we've got action here. We've got the 5 fingers of the hand. We've got the foundation of action in the Lamed and the hand itself in the Yud. So action. Take some sort of action. Take some sort of thing to plant the seed. Maybe lean into the Sefirot, the 10 divine emanations having to do with love and loving kindness and boundaries and heart and grounding ourselves. These are all the emanations of the divine in the Sefirot. There are a lot of different ways to show up right now. The most important way is to say, here I am, and plant a seed of some kind right now. I'm going to pull out one last letter that'll give us one more direction for us for this time period, this liminal space between the Nun and the Samik, between Chesvan and Kislev, in the center of the miracle, as we transition from one month to another during the holiday of Sigd, where we're prostrating ourselves in front of Torah, which means learning. Let's take out that last letter. And we have the letter Shin. Beautiful. The letter Shin is the mother letter of fire. And you can see it looks a little bit like 3 flames licking up from the bottom. It's made up of 3 Yuds and 4 Vavs. All this fire and all this energy, these seeds that are connected to each other. Shin is the first letter of the word Shekhinah, which means indwelling presence, the feminine indwelling presence of the divine. It's the word Shalom. which means wholeness. And the word shini, which means change, and shuva, which means return. And it's all about the fire. It's all about transformation through fire. And that's what we can look forward to in the miracle. Certainly in the miracle of the candles or the oil that happens at Hanukkah. But the Festival of Fire predates the idea of these 8 days of Hanukkah. The miracle of the fire, the sun, the moon, the stars, all the heavenly bodies in the sky burning brightly above us. Turn toward them to see the miracles that they provide, just to give us light at night, to give us heat during the day, to find that spark within us, that light that shines all the time, whether we have ability to see it or not. So really leaning into that miracle, the miracle of the fire. So as we move into this transition period between Chesvan and Kislev, we have some issue of power that's coming up right now, giving and receiving, knowing that the divine is lifting us up and sheltering us as well, that the miracle of the breath is here, that we have the ability to breathe, that we have the ability to stop and feel our breath when we're confused, that we can know that that atmosphere is there just for us to keep alive. Maybe what we can't see right now is the justice in the situation, the righteousness in whatever's going on, but we can trust that it's there under the surface. What's coming up from the bottom is this admonition to show up, to say, Hineni, here I am, available and ready for service, that when we do that, that we're halfway toward divinity. That our challenge right now is finding our heart right now, our being able to learn and teach what we need to learn and what we need to teach, being able to reach up with heart for divinity and digest what's coming in. And that our advice right now is to turn toward the divine and to plant a seed of action in some direction and trust. If we're listening, if we're showing up to say Hineni, if we are reaching up with heart, even through our fear, that we will be able to know what seed is the right seed to plant right now. And when we do that, transformation will occur. Transformation through fire, the indwelling presence of the divine, and wholeness and peace. And that's the message I'm getting today. That's the miracle that's coming today. The miracle of the breath, the miracle of justice, the miracle of presence, the miracle of heart, the miracle of the divine, the miracle of power, and the miracle of fire. So for those of you who've stayed with us this far in the reading, thank you so much for showing up. I wish you a very wonderful Sigd, should you celebrate. What I'm going to do is I'm going to climb up a hill and I'm going to make injera and Ethiopian style meal for my family and read some Torah. And then we'll be doing the new moon ceremony shortly thereafter so that we can move into the month of Kislev, into the month of dreaming. And I will see you here next time.